No doubt about it. BYU just blew out West Virginia. But if you're without Jack Kelly, is this a Big 12 championship team? And are you more confident after that win? This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Saturday now, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. BYU blows out West Virginia. I just finished a banana ball game on True TV and thought, you know what? Why not? Let's hop on here, talk about it, give you the thoughts. BYU blew out West Virginia. If you hit subscribe, I could keep my job. Here is my issue with what we saw tonight from BYU and the West Virginia Mountaineers. Take number one, if you are without Jack Kelly for a long period of time in a clunky blowout win, it's a net loss. I think if you're a BYU fan, here's what you have to look at this from the lens of. I've mentioned this before. In the Big 12, you want to be Santa Claus. Tim Allen kills Santa Claus. Tim Allen becomes Santa Claus. For BYU, the more you win, the more you need to win for the Big 12 to succeed. It's the same thing for Texas Tech, same thing for Iowa State. For Houston, the undefeated teams need to stay undefeated in the Big 12 conference. That said, in a game like this, while staying undefeated is very important, staying healthy is doubly important. If BYU, can we agree on one thing? I feel like a wise sage in saying this, and you should hopefully be like, yeah, it's a good take. If BYU wins this game 35-34, but Jack Kelly stays healthy, it's worth it. Some sort of like shoulder, arm injury for Kelly. If it's a dislocated shoulder and he's back in a couple of weeks, awesome. If it's something that is prolonged, not good. This was the sloppiest I think I've seen BYU play throughout the game. The Colorado game on the road against a much better opponent than West Virginia, you fought your way back. You clawed your way back, a slow start, a bad start. This was more of BYU immediately attacks West Virginia and then kind of forgets to play football for a little bit. The turnovers for Bear Bachmeier. In some like weird roundabout way, this was like a Twilight Zone Friday night game at 10:30 Eastern time. Bear Bachmeier had, I thought, his most impressive game of the year. Looked really good running the football. Looked really good at a couple of passes that were just dimes, like middle of the field, dot. Lead a guy over the shoulder. Find the right guy on the right slant. Lead him to the point that a Chase Roberts or Parker Kingston can gain 40 yards on a play because Bear Bachmeier just put the ball in the right spot. But then again, he finally started turning the ball over. And I saw different comments of folks that were in the Locked On Big 12 Twitter comments saying like, this might kind of be on A-Rod. Like, guy loves the speed option. There's the fumble where Bachmeier goes to pitch and a West Virginia guy just knocks it out of the air. Bachmeier finally throwing interceptions. West Virginia pulling turnovers from BYU late. And it's like all the momentum you built early in this game, if you are BYU, just got fizzled out. And by the end, it was just get us out of here. Let's just end this game. I think the Jack Kelly injury could have been a big part of that. Now, LJ Martin, once again, great. I thought, again, Bear Bachmeier, despite him having his worst game, he kind of had his best game. Again, if you watch this, I hope that makes sense to you, where you're like, the freshman is growing up before our eyes and throwing passes that a freshman probably shouldn't make, usually doesn't make. At the same time, the turnovers were there for the first time. And statistically, BYU 4 for 12 on third down. Bad. 4 for 4 on fourth down. As good as it gets, actually. 516 yards. Only allowed 291 yards. But then the random weird, like, quarterback for West Virginia comes in at the end, throws that long touchdown pass. Just, oh, okay. Great. Where'd that come from? BYU 14 yards per pass. That's really good. 165 rushing yards is fine. 42 for 165, 4 yards per carry, 4 yards in a cloud of dust. Like, do it. But 10 penalties, 3 turnovers. You dominated time of possession, even though the penalties were bad and the turnovers were bad. But overall, I don't walk away from this game as someone who is actively rooting for BYU in the same way I'm actively rooting for Texas Tech. I am actively rooting for Iowa State. I am rooting for Houston. I am rooting for every team in the Big 12 conference to keep winning at the top. I need the ranked teams in the Big 12 to win at the top. Arizona State, I need you to win. I need these schools to continue to succeed. I need BYU to continue to succeed for the conference to ultimately have stalwarts in college football. I didn't think that BYU necessarily gave me the confidence to say, yeah, this is the Big 12 title team. But here's what I will say, and especially if Jack Kelly is healthy. Bear Bachmeier threw for 351. And the other upside of this game is that the Cougars, this is a fun one, played on a Friday night where there was no other major college football game, no MLB game, there was no NFL game. This was college football. This was football. If you watched it tonight, you probably weren't tuned into New Mexico. You're watching BYU. What the country saw was a 21-3 BYU win, and then they turned their TV off. We know this. I've mentioned to you before. This is where the Big 12 won tonight, where BYU won tonight. Brett McMurphy, old man Brett McMurphy, I like him, by the way, but like he tweeted out his AP poll a couple weeks ago while games were still going on. Brett was going to bed. He was done. I'm going to sleep. Most of the country that cares about college football, even the committee members, the AP poll voters, they watched until it was 21-3 and said, dang, this BYU team is legit. This BYU team is a Big 12 championship, possibly college football playoff caliber team, and that's massive for the Big 12 conference. That's where we as a league win. That's where we as a league succeed, is when you blew them out in the pivotal opening moments to the point where most of the country was like, you know what? Yeah. I accept it. BYU's good. Click. They missed the Jack Kelly injury. Like it's not like you can necessarily hide from it. But honestly, when it comes to the AP voters, you can kind of hide from it. When it comes to the average college football fan, look, let's be straight up. They don't know Rodriguez at Texas Tech, Kelly at BYU, Corleone at Cincinnati. They don't know Big Citrus at Iowa State. Like the best defensive players in the Big 12. The average college football fan probably couldn't name you a single defensive player. They only know the Nussmeier kid and March Manning, right? So if you lose Jack Kelly, if the tree falls in the woods and no one's around, did it make any noise? Did Brett McMurphy know that Jack Kelly went out? I don't know. Like you almost win by virtue of you blowing out West Virginia by such a large margin to begin this game. And that is a kind of rose or royal blue colored glasses way to look at this. But honestly, it's actually how college football fans operate. I think, if I may be so bold, I'm making a pretty good point to you here that ultimately BYU's in a fine spot. I as someone who will watch these games with a critical eye, I didn't love this, didn't think it was top notch, was worried toward the end, the killer instinct, killer mentality. Like Utah killed West Virginia, put them away, said, thumb goes down. Thumb always goes down. BYU didn't do that. I'm not exactly ecstatic with that if I'm rooting for top teams in the Big 12. But most of the country is like, yeah, they blew out West Virginia. You won for West Virginia? Gosh, love Rich Rodriguez. Did you find your quarterback late in this game, by the way? Scotty Fox Jr., is he the guy? 3 for 354 yards and a tutty. I don't know. We need some help. Next year's the year, West Virginia. Next year is your year, right? Please tell me I'm right. Like, you got to do something. Yeah. Well, this was one of the Big 12 games of all time. BYU wins it, and congrats to BYU fans. You're still undefeated. You stay in the top 25. Like, you continue to rise, and I think that rocks the conference. This has been, it always will be, Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.